Hello, everyone. A very warm welcome to all of you joining us today. My name is Linsa, and I'll be your host for today's session. Our topic today is why 1 in 4 hybrid agile projects fail and how to be the 75%. Nearly 28% of hybrid
Linza, we are
agile.
unable to hear you. There is a problem with your audio.
No,
Oh,
Mahesh, I'm able to hear.
Mano,
Uh,
are you able to hear her?
yeah, I'm able to hear.
okay.
Oh,
All right. So let me continue then. Yes. So, as I was saying, nearly 28% of hybrid agile initiatives either stall or fail outright. And yet, 42% of organizations use it to improve how they deliver work. So, the real question is how do you make it work? And that's exactly what we'll talk about today. Yes, just a moment. I hope I am audible now.
Yes.
All right,
yes.
perfect.
It
Yes,
is a problem with
perfect.
my audio than yours.
Okay. All right, so let me quickly lay down the agenda. We'll do the introductions of our speakers as well as of our sponsor Nimble Work. Then we'll dive into the main session, followed by an interactive Q&A. Some housekeeping, the session is being recorded and we'll send you the recording post the webinar. There's a Q&A box in the Zoom panel, so please enter your questions, your feedback, your suggestions in that. We'll take them up post the webinar. All right. So let me quickly introduce our speakers. We have Mano Cherian with us. He's the VP of Business Development. With 20 years, he has helped major companies throughout the industries and is the go-to expert for organizations to optimize how they manage their work. Along with him, we have Mahesh Singh, our co-founder and CMO. He's the driving force behind our marketing and overall strategy. He's a recognized fellow by Kanban University and a Kanban coach and a trainer. A quick overview of Nimble Work. We have been pioneers in web-based project and work management products for over 2 decades now. We are based out of Cupertino, California, and have offices in North America, Europe, and in India. And we serve over 1 million users worldwide. You can learn more about us by visiting our website. So our product portfolio is quite comprehensive. We cover the entire value stream from strategy with portfolio management and OKRs to execution with project delivery and even managing projects and their day-to-day work. We offer solutions for agile, hybrid, and traditional project management solutions. Finally, a look at some of our customers ranging from small teams to large organizations with tens and thousands of users. And we have experience with various organization culture as well as structure. All right, so with all the introductions done, I will hand over the session to Mahesh. Over to you, Mahesh.
Thanks, Linza. And let me share my screen.
Yes.
Um, Folks, I need to apologize in advance. There are two issues. One, I am suffering from some allergies, so there may be interruptions with my hacking and coughing. And the other is that I may, Linza and Mano, I may have outages. So for some reason, we've been facing internet outages. So in case needed, you might have to take over. But hopefully, none of that happens in the next 5, 7 minutes while I'm presenting. And so let's hope that it all goes well. Let me share my screen so that. Okay, and let me know that you are able to see my screen now.
Yes.
Okay, awesome. All right. Sorry for that slightly slow starting. Folks, welcome to another session of our regular, I would say, bi-weekly series of webinars that we are doing to really talk about some of the key things that we see as challenges that our customers and prospective customers deal with, and how they are dealing with those challenges, and in the process, how we are learning from them and how we are able to assist them in the kind of solutions that we provide. So we've been doing two series. One is the Agile series, which is deals with a lot of topics around agile, whether it is about agile being dead. There has been a lot of discussion about that and on social media in recent months. Hybrid agile is a favorite topic of ours because we see organizations uh, you know struggling to deliver projects successfully and trying to use a combination of traditional and agile methods to really meet the challenges of project delivery head on. And that's really what we're going to be talking about today. We talk about other topics of agile as well, like upstream and downstream, etc. So if you are interested in the agile side of your journey or your project delivery, then we'd love to have you attend these webinars that we do for the Agile series. We're also doing another series which is for uh, I would say project-driven organizations. So these are typically IT services, IT consulting, or professional services type of organizations, or ISVs with professional services organizations, etc. But typically any project-driven organization, and we're looking at some of the challenges that these project-driven organizations face, and how we again have learned from their experience through our customers, and where we've been able to specifically help. So with that as a background, I'd like to again welcome all of you who have joined today, and let's talk a little bit about why hybrid agile projects fail. So it's clear that hybrid agile by itself has been gaining ground for some of the exact challenges that we've seen uh, project delivery organizations face, which is with the traditional approach to project delivery. We have known historically that waterfall style projects have failed, and over the last 20 years or more than 20 years now, agile has been the key solution to those challenges. But what we have seen is that even with that, even agile does not work everywhere. And why is that? It is because for many organizations where there is either regulatory constraints or fixed budgets or large distributed teams, what I would say are complex project conditions. It is not so easy to implement agile and have everybody on the same page. Management and stakeholders expect greater predictability. They want to see a sort of milestone driven plan. They want to have some sense of when am I going to get my final delivery, or when am I going to get the key deliverables of the overall project. And traditional project plans have been very good at setting that milestone driven plan, and at least setting the expectations that across these milestones you would get your key deliverables. Obviously, traditional projects have failed to deliver as per those milestones, and that is where agile came in. And so, of course, Agile has had the value of being able to deliver on a continuous basis every 2 weeks or every 4 weeks, depending on the sprint duration. But then the problem with Agile has been that it doesn't give you a very good long-term vision of when key milestones will get delivered, etc., because there is no long-term plan. And so, uh, while Agile gives you the flexibility to adjust scope and timelines and so forth, it doesn't give you the predictability that stakeholders expect. And so hybrid really offers the best of both worlds. That's really what the promise of a hybrid agile has been, which is strategic planning at the top, while with agile execution at the team level. And so therefore, it tries to really put these two together. The problem with that, of course, has been that there is a uh, uh, challenge in even delivering or managing these hybrid agile projects. And in fact, the data suggests from the 2023 State of Agile report that 1 in 4 hybrid agile projects fail. So in the previous slide you saw, that is from PMI. I'm just going to go back there for a second. We have nearly 50% of the organizations, or 40% of the organizations using hybrid agile methods. But of that, 25% of the projects fail, in spite of trying to really do a good mix of traditional with agile. And that's because of several challenges. And those are the key causes that have been identified here. There is misalignment between what's planned and what the teams actually deliver, so between planning and execution. The tooling environment doesn't always support both models. This is actually one of the key challenges that we find and why customers come to us, because we solve that problem quite elegantly. But the fact is that most organizations that are dealing with hybrid agile projects are working with multiple tools or multiple environments to manage the planning side of the project and the execution side of the project, and being able to use both of them and have seamless information across them can be challenging. There is also, of course, confusion around roles, because there have been traditionally roles in Agile that were very different from the earlier roles of project manager, business analyst, testing, and so forth. And so there has always been some level of confusion about who owns delivery versus who manages governance, etc. And finally, of course, there is always the cultural tension between the waterfall method of rigid oversight and the agile autonomy that teams have in terms of defining what gets prioritized and what gets delivered. So those are all challenges that we all know very well. In today's session, we'll focus on primarily on the first two aspects where we believe there is a lot of impact that the right tooling and right frameworks can have, and in terms of making sure that there is alignment between planning and execution, which these tools can enable. And these two reasons account for more than half the projects that fail. So hopefully this will be of interest to those of you who are struggling specifically with those challenges. So as you can see here, this shows the fundamental mismatch between the typical hybrid agile plan, right? On the top, you see you have a waterfall style process. You have initiation, planning, execution, testing, delivery, which is really the standard life cycle of a traditional project. And below that, you have the agile teams iterating rapidly in sprints. And the danger, of course, is the disconnect. So most tools, most solutions that teams use don't easily connect the two, and therefore there is always a risk of data loss, confusion, and sort of misalignment in the way the leadership may think about the project. They may think the project is on track because they see this beautiful milestone plan. The plan looks solid, but on the ground, agile teams are adjusting based on what they're learning in each sprint, and those insights don't often go back to update the project plan. And that's fundamentally the challenge that you have in terms of the disconnect between the plan and the execution. And as you can see here, this timeline shows how projects can drift off course, right? Everything might start well with planning and initial sprints going smoothly, but as soon as something happens, a milestone gets missed or a new change request comes up, there is friction. And scope changes aren't mapped well back to the original plan. Teams have to adjust priorities informally. Milestones may get missed, or stage gate reviews may get missed, and suddenly you have chaos, right? And this is when the hybrid approach breaks down. And this is where we again believe that having a very strong solution that is tailored for hybrid agile project management is really a very solid requirement. So this is really where we are, able to come in and help. The key is to have a tight integration between the planning and the execution. We need the framework for it, which means that your processes and your ability to make changes, your change management processes, etc., need to show that flexibility, have that flexibility built into the processes. And then, of course, you need to have tooling that supports that process, where strategic plans translate clearly into sprints, where stage gates or reviews are enforced but not bypassed, where real-time insights inform both the team level as well as the leadership level. So you have continuous flow of information between the top and the between plan and the execution, and governance exists without slowing down execution. So we believe that with the right tools, the right processes, and with AI-driven insights, of course, AI is now all pervasive. This sort of a seamless orchestration is absolutely achievable, and that's what we're going to walk you through today in the rest of this session. So with that, I'm going to hand it over to Mano. Mano, all yours.
Thank you, Mahesh. I hope you're able to see my screen.
Yes.
All right, great. So I'll just take one important point, which you mentioned in your slide, that is the point about having two different mindsets. the team which is involved in a far more stringent planning, and the planning, if it is based in a waterfall method, has a different mindset from the team which is primarily executing their projects in a very lean and an agile manner, where the planning is not upfront, but it gets prioritized as the project flows. So keeping in view, so this is the first mindset that I wanted to very briefly take you through. So this is the waterfall mindset. So what you see here is a plan which is broken down into phases. And then each phase will have its own set of tasks. It will have its own set of milestones, as you're aware. And then what is primarily tracked? You're tracking the resource. It could be single or multiple to whom the task has been assigned. You are tracking the planned start date, the end date, the actual end date. And then since it is a waterfall approach, if there is a delay, it has a cascading impact to to the other elements of the project. And then one of the primary interface that is being used in this type of projects is you take a look at the Gantt chart view, where you will be able to see the tasks that are completed, the task along with its dependencies, the dependencies across milestones. So all of these gets tracked in a very stringent manner as the project gets executed. So if you look at this, so we are talking of a mindset where you capture the requirements up front. Once that has been finalized, there is no room for change. Then you take it through the next stage where you get into the design, and then you get into the development testing. And the customer starts seeing the tool maybe somewhere towards post the user acceptance testing. So this is the first mindset that Mahesh was talking about, where you have a plan. There are a lot of pros and cons in both the approaches, but what you get to see over here is a view on the exact timeline by when the project gets completed. So it is timeline driven. You will be able to bring in some processes that you want to implement, so you'll be able to ensure a far better compliance and so on and so forth. So this is the first mindset. Now what I'm going to do is I will quickly switch to another view. So this is another team, and all that they're doing, the way they are planning the work is as you see over here. There is no stringent dependency. There is no stringent approach where you need to finish the entire requirements, then finish the entire design, then get into development, and then get into testing and release. So you don't have that approach. The entire execution is happening on a visual interface. The work item gets picked up. It moves through the process steps that you have identified or defined over here. And at any point of time, if you want to pause work, you can pause work. If you want to accommodate a new change which has been brought in by the customer team, maybe something that is very urgent that needs to be implemented, you will basically be able to do it through this interface. So the first example which I showed you was a team which is following a structured waterfall plan. It has different stages. When the first stage gets over, the second stage gets started, and the scope is defined, the timelines is defined, and the customer sees to see the value add at the end of the plan, at the end of the development. Whereas over here, it is a flow that is being determined by the priority. The priority can be determined by the project teams. It can be determined by the customer. And you're able to provide a delivery to the customer at a much rapid phase, though it is a small piece of delivery that can be given to the customer, and they are able to see the benefit. So these are two different mindsets. How do they coexist? How do they coexist in a hybrid manner? This question has been asked to us by many of our customers. And when we went to many of our customers, we have seen most of the projects, especially large projects, which has large teams, which has a higher element of regulatory compliance, which has teams that are distributed across multiple geographical locations, and which has components that needs to be dependent on each other before it gets integrated. So when you get into that kind of projects, we have seen that the execution happens in a hybrid manner. The overall plan for the project is created using the waterfall approach, and the actual execution basically is happening using the agile framework. We have customers who have embarked on very large product development related initiatives, who have embarked on very large ERP implementation related projects. And we have seen in these projects, in all of these projects, there is a plan that defines the core tasks, that sets up the key dependencies, and that defines the milestones. And then you have, and that plan is basically being managed by the PMO team, and you have a completely different team which just defines their epics, which just defines their user stories. They define their release, they define their sprints, and they execute, and then they make the delivery. But then the challenge is, in most of these cases, you have two different applications or two different systems being used. Either it is an Excel or a standalone project planner, or a different tool that is being used for managing the plan. And then you have a completely different system that is being used for managing your agile workflow. And then the challenge that comes is, how do I align the milestones that are defined in my plan to the releases that is being made by the sprint teams or by the agile team? So that becomes a huge manual effort. And at times they find out that what was actually expected in the milestone was not prioritized and picked up by the delivery teams. The timelines are not getting aligned, and so on and so forth. So this involves a huge manual effort, and it creates friction between the teams. They start finger pointing, and that results in a lot of issues. So that is what we have seen happening on ground. So what we have done as a result of that is, let me just go back to the project which I opened up. What we have done is provided a capability wherein both the teams can use the same interface to manage their work. Now, when they use the same interface to manage the work, they are very much aligned to the milestones that has been defined in the plan. They are very much aligned to the timelines. They are very much aligned to its dependency. And this basically serves as a key input to the Scrum teams when they are prioritizing work. They didn't have that kind of a visualization or a interface earlier, and things were getting prioritized at a random pace. But once you have been able to bring both the teams to one single integrated workspace, the alignment issues got resolved, the cultural issues got resolved, and teams started getting understanding why they are working on a specific user story or why they are working on a specific epic, and that brought in a better management of the hybrid project. So how that is being done, there are multiple ways to do it, but we have brought in a very simple approach that can be taken up by the teams to manage such hybrid engagements. So coming back to the waterfall plan, so let me just expand this. Let us just go to the phases over here. And this is an example, this is a typical example which we have seen in most of our customer cases. So there is a project that has been taken up. It could be a new product development. It could be a service implementation project. As per the waterfall approach, you have your phases defined. Certain tasks and activities in a particular phase can continue to be done in a waterfall manner. Like, say, for example, defining the scope. Typically, what happens over here is you go to the customer site, you have a customer workshop, and then you define, you collaborate, and you come out with the requirement or the scope document. So that can be done in a waterfall approach. You can even take the design in a waterfall or an agile approach, but you can define the design related key tasks. You can define the milestone. You can define the dependencies between these tasks so that the overall workflow happens in a much smoother manner. Now let's come to the development phase. Now, when we are in the development phase, you have the first task, which is I'm going to set up my releases. So I may deliver this project across one release or multiple release. So there is a cadence that needs to be established for that. So you basically go ahead and do that. You define that. You may take a waterfall approach for that. And then you will break down the actual execution of the project across various waves or various phases of releases or various iterations. So you can take it is pretty configurable, so you can take the approach which you are comfortable with. So here you can see that I have wave one items related to configuration, and then I have some customization items. So these are typically the service delivery tasks that you typically encounter. So you are going to execute them across multiple waves. And then you will see that this task is mapped to a special task type, which is known as the hybrid task type, which is available only in the solution which the Nimble organization offers. So you can map a task as a hybrid task. And the moment I do that, when you open up the task and start the task definition, you will be able to map that task to either a release or to a theme or to a set of user stories. Now, in this example, what we have done is we have linked the task to, we have linked the wave one configuration task to a epic, and the epic is further broken down to user stories. So what this means is you have a plan, the plan gets aligned to an epic, the epic is broken down to user stories. The product backlog that gets generated as a result of that is a backlog which is very much aligned to what you have planned from a project delivery or from a project management perspective. So all the user stories that will come, that will be defined and set up within that project workspace will be user stories that are aligned or mapped to a deliverable which you have defined in your plan or to a milestone which you have defined in the plan. And then once this happens, what would then take place is, let me just go back to the agile team, the agile project team. So once I have defined my tasks and I've aligned it to an epic or a theme, so you can basically do that. And then you have defined your user stories. Your backlog for the product has been, for the project has, as a result, it has got established. And when you click on any of these user stories, you will be able to trace it back to that specific deliverable or that specific milestone which you have defined in your in the overall or in the overarching project plan. Once you have your backlog, then you can now the sprint team can take over and start executing the project based on the process and approach which they are very much aligned to. So they can now go define the backlog. They can look at the backlog. They can prioritize the backlog. So you can define your releases and sprints. You can come to your backlog. You can prioritize which user story you're going to take up. You'll be able to see the milestone. You'll be able to see the percentage completion of work across each of these milestones. You can say that, okay, which needs to be released now so that I'm going to focus on that particular milestone. I'm going to pick up the user stories. I'll groom those user stories, which means that I will, detail the user story to an extent which can be picked up by the teams for its execution. And then I will map them to sprints. And once I have mapped them to sprints, then the team which is involved in execution and which is doing execution as per the agile methodology, they don't go back to the work breakdown structure plan. They don't go and update the percentage progress or the dates to the work breakdown structure. They will continue executing their projects as they have been doing currently. They can use the visual board interface. They can define their releases. They can set up their sprints. They will continue that execution. And for an agile team, they will also be able to view all the reports and dashboards that a typical agile team would use for its tracking. So you can track your burn up charts, your burn down charts, your velocity, all that will basically get generated in the system. None of that will get disturbed. You can also continue doing your agile ceremonies. So you can have your stand-up meetings, your status meetings, all of that can happen within the system. So their operation, their mode of working is not getting interrupted. What has happened over here is the prioritization is now being based on the tasks and the deliverables which you have defined in your project plan. Now, as they start moving, start working on each of these work items, They will be able to set up the dates. They'll be able to define their subtasks further. This is what the Agile team is comfortable with. They will be able to report their time against each of those subtasks or to-dos. And then what will happen is when you go back to the overall plan, the status from the Scrum teams will automatically flow back to the plan in your project. So which means that the wave one configuration task, its actual start date, its actual end date, and the percentage completion, and the actual effort that has been entered against that particular task will flow from the execution of the agile team. So the actual start and the actual effort, all of that, and the hours will flow back to the project from the actual execution based on the execution data of the agile team. So what this means is, if there is dependency with these tasks, if there is a delay, it gets flagged off. If there is a dependency, the dependency impact can be seen. And if you want to have a look at the overall timeline of a project, that can be generated from this work breakdown structure. So that is how we have been able to bring both the teams to one project workspace. So you have the program management or the project management team responsible for the plan, and you have the execution team responsible for defining their releases and sprints, and they can even follow a Kanban approach. The system has that ability, and the user stories will move through a visual board, and the status will get reported back to the task that has been defined in the overall plan. Now, as you're executing projects, now one of the important point which Mahesh mentioned is, how do I bring in change, or how do I do stage gate reviews? I have completed a phase, I've made a deliverable is ready for delivery, or a milestone is ready for completion. So within the Nimble system, we provide an ability where, whether it is a change request or whether it is a stage gate, you can have the definitions in place, and then you will be able to take it through a review and approval process through a workflow. So which means that once a change request has been approved, then for that change request, I can define user stories, or I can define an epic, or I can define a task in my plan and link it to an epic and user story. And as a result of that, if it is something that is important, it can be picked up by the teams, and it can be prioritized, and it can be delivered to the end user. So all of this in a very seamless, integrated manner happens through one integrated workspace. And that is what we have in plate for hybrid teams. And we have customers, very large customer teams, who are involved in large services project, very large teams who are involved in product development initiatives, adopting this approach to make sure that the senior stakeholder requirements from a strategic planning perspective, or the customer expectation from a planning perspective, is being addressed, and the agility which is required by teams in prioritizing and executing the work that has been allotted to them is being provided to the teams, so that the best of both the worlds is being delivered to you through one single integrated platform. So that's a quick overview. Mahesh, is there any questions that you have, or anything else that you would want me to cover?
Yeah, I think we have some audience questions as well. Folks, if you have not yet had the opportunity to ask a question, and if you have some, do let us know. Linza is monitoring those questions. But Mano, I want to ask you, we talk about this often, and, we see a variety of different, I'm going to say, challenges that our customers deal with. What, in your experience, has been the bigger challenge? Is it more the leadership mindset, where there is a little bit of, I'm going to say, skepticism about Agile? Or is it more from the team, which is unable to appreciate the business challenges that leadership and customers have, and their need for predictability is based on actual business conditions, customer commitments, and so forth? Where is the bigger disconnect? Is it more with the leadership, would you say, or more with the delivery teams who are focused on doing agile but may not appreciate the business challenges?
See, I have what we have seen is it is more one with the customer and their expectation, and it is also more with the leadership teams.
Hmm.
Now, the business models and the business methods are evolving. So which means that and the competition is also increasing. So you have pressure from the competition side. You have pressure from the business model that is changing, that is evolving from the customer side or from the business side that is impacting you. So which means that you need to have a clear cut visibility on when the deliverable is going to be made. You need to have a clear cut visibility on the impact of some delay or impact of a change that has crept into the product management lifecycle or the project management lifecycle. And this is of paramount importance, and this needs to be provided to the stakeholders real time so that the right decisions can be taken, because it is having a business impact, it is having a customer impact, and it is having a timeline impact. We are now seeing that most of the large projects that are being executed, and a bit of that will be covered in our next series of webinars. Most of the large projects which customers are taking up, our customers are taking up, are no more time and material projects. They are fixed price projects or fixed budget projects, or they are outcome based projects. So when it comes to such kind of business models, then the ability to um, estimate accurately, the ability to predict the timeline accurately, the ability to see the impact very early in the life cycle accurately is of paramount importance. Otherwise, what will happen is you will still make the delivery, but it will
Hmm.
be at the cost of quality, it will be at the cost of price, it will be at the cost of budgets, and that is not good for an organization.
Very, very well put. In the last 15 years now, I think since the time, early days of our own agile product development, we launched Swift Kanban and really got into it in a big way. Slightly later than a lot of other companies did, perhaps, but then we did it with a very deliberate, plan and vision to uh, move our overall product portfolio towards more agile, more continuous delivery, more adoption of Kanban along with Scrum, etc. And at least my experience has been that the I would say the attraction with agile, the fascination with agile, and the real energy and the enthusiasm to implement agile, I think led to a little bit of um I'm going to say, lack of attention to the requirements of the business. And so I think all of us are guilty of that. Definitely the business, definitely the delivery teams who were focused on the agile delivery side. I believe, this is my personal opinion, and there is a lot of course, diverse opinion on this, that we kind of lost the importance of the ability to set milestones and dates and give a clear um, plan and commitment and some sense of predictability to when projects will get delivered. Uh, because we were, as product owners and scrum masters and other roles in the delivery team, we were very enamored with agile, and I think for the right reasons. Clearly agile was solving a problem that we had for years struggled with in terms of delivering things on time and to cost and so forth. But I think there was a little bit of a extreme swing towards just the continuous delivery, sprint-based delivery, and not so much on the long-term, slightly longer-term view of the project or the business objectives that needed to be met. So my sense is that I think now we are swinging back towards that, and I think that's how you see that 40% or 50% of organizations are adapting hybrid agile, because they're now kind of trying to meet in the middle to say, how do I continue to ensure that customers ultimately get the product that they want which is where we had challenges in the traditional methods, where because you define requirements 18 months back or 24 months back or whatever be the time period, and as you started to build those without real effective change management, you ended up delivering products that customers no longer needed. Now you have the ability to fix that with with agile, and the hybrid agile essentially is trying to make it a little more predictable, a little more planned, so that both sides understand the benefits of and the needs of each side or the other side. um, I don't know, Mano, were you going to say something about the view that you're showing just now, or
No, no, I just open it up. So this is what uh, the agile team will continue to see, and it makes sure that it gets aligned to the plan that has been set up at the project. So just to give you an example, so even the contracts which we sign today are contracts where a formal plan, a timeline on deliverables, all of that is being asked for, and but the actual execution of those projects, that means the implementation of our entire product line, happens in a very agile manner. So we set up releases, we set up sprints, we are able to show a deliverable to our customer every 2 week, and so on and so forth. But at the end of it, when we go for a monthly governance call, or when we have a bi-weekly governance meeting, with a review meeting with our customer stakeholders, they at that time look at what was committed in the contract from a timeline perspective, and we are quickly able to show the progress because of this hybrid nature of working that we have in the system, without burning much midnight oil, or asking multiple stakeholders, or going through a series of Excels and going through a series of tools. We have been able to, just through a click of a dashboard, we have been able to show how we are very much aligned to the milestones and the deliverables which we have committed in the contract.
yeah, yeah. Okay. Lindsar, I know that we have a few audience questions. Let's take up those.
Okay. Yes. So yes, the question is, what shifts in mindset have you seen teams need to really make hybrid agile work beyond just changing the process?
See, the beauty of having them in one system, in one integrated ecosystem, the the shift, the cultural shift that is required is very minimal, because in a hybrid environment, the agile team continues to think and deliver the agile way. They continue to define their releases, their sprints, they have their visual board, they have their backlog, they have their grooming exercise, backlog prioritization. All that happens the agile way. There is nothing changed over there. And the PMO team, or the program management or the project management team, creates their plan, and they track their plan as they're used to. The only important point over here is there was a gap between what was being done by the program management office and what was being done by the Scrum teams. That has been bridged through the ability of linking a deliverable or a milestone in your plan to epics and user stories. So what that has brought into picture is the Scrum team starts prioritizing based on the commitments of deliverables, and the program management team, um, uh, they don't just go and navigate through all the sprints and releases where all that particular deliverer is getting addressed. They get to get an integrated view from where they are able to determine how things are going and what is the exact process. So from a cultural shift, it isn't much of a cultural shift. The tool facilitates and makes sure that the teams are able to work in the line or in the area of their strength, and they can continue to work that way. Mahesh, do you want to comment further?
Yeah, I was going to say, I think you make a really good point. I was, in fact, in the previous question that I asked you, and we discussed a little bit briefly. I think the whole move towards hybrid agile was a adjustment of mindset, adjustment of culture that began maybe I don't know, maybe hybrid agile has been around for at least 10 years. I'm going to say, or a little less than that, perhaps. And that was a recognition of the challenges that each side faced: the planning, the leadership on the one hand and the team on the other side. And that was the beginning of the change in mindset, adjustment of attitudes, understanding of the need on both sides, etc. But what Mano just said makes a lot of sense, because we began with saying that having the integration between planning and execution, having the right framework and the right tool set, connects the two sides much more effectively. And as a result, there is less need perhaps for that cultural shift or the mindset shift, because each side is getting what they need with the right tool set. So I'm going to say that you still need a cultural mindset shift, whatever you want to call it, culture, mindset, mind share, etc. Um, but having the right environment in which to run your hybrid agile projects, where there is a clear ability to see the other side, understand the requirements from both on both sides, planning and the execution side, and having an automation built in that lets the milestone plan get updated, and for the teams to be able to operate in an agile fashion, that becomes far better. And as a result, as Manoj said, uh, the ability to continue to work in the environment that you're comfortable with becomes higher. And so teams that are starting to move towards hybrid agile today, with that right framework and the right tooling, have less of an adjustment to make than teams that had to do that maybe 5 years back, because they didn't have the tooling. We did not have some of the capabilities that we have now in the system. So I think that's a great point, Mano.
Okay. So I'll take one more question. Yes. So how to help teams stay creative and self-driven while still keeping leadership happy with governance and structure?
I'm going to say again the same thing. I think it's kind of I hope that the audience doesn't feel that we are kind of repeating the same thing. But the fact is this, that the more integrated an environment, and we are not talking necessarily of a single platform or a single tool, but the more integrated the environment, where your high level plan, the project plan, which is milestones and deliverables and so forth, the better integrated it is with your sprint delivery environment, where there is automated flow of information from one to the other, both ways. Um, the better teams will be able to continue to learn from things that they do within each sprint, the demos that they do to their customers, the feedback that they receive, and therefore think of more creative solutions to issues and challenges that they find at the end of each sprint, as long as they're obviously doing it in the right manner, which I'm sure they are. So again, it's a matter of having the right environment that lets you experiment, that lets you learn from what you have already delivered, lets you get accommodate the feedback that you get from customers, and be able to pull that back into the overall scope of the project and the overall project plan. And for then, if there are changes to the project plan, let's say, then be able to have that discussion with the customer very easily, to say that these are the reasons why these changes came in, and as a result, there is an impact on the project plan. And therefore, the delay in the project should not be seen as a failure. It should be seen as a learning and a feedback to the overall project plan, a better information. Mano, anything else you want to add?
So see, I'm just talking from sharing from something which our customer has shared with us. So we have a customer who um, who did a review with his project teams on how the project is progressing, on how the project is progressing, and the team said that everything is going well. We have made 3 releases, 4 sprints, so many user stories has been demoed to the customer. It's going fine. Now he goes to the customer site to for a review, and obviously when it comes to customer, and since everything is linked to payments and so on and so forth, the deliverable status were reviewed, and he was surprised to see that the core deliverable that were that were committed to in the contract was getting significantly delayed. So on one side, the teams were saying things are going well, but from a customer perspective, because a customer is also answerable to his customers, there was delay in the progress of the deliverables. Now this happened because multiple disparate tools were being used. When he did a review, he just did a review with one team. He didn't do a review with the other team. So this is a real-time problem which was shared to me by one of our customers. But what I wanted to highlight over here, just taking adding on to what Mahesh just mentioned, what I wanted to highlight over here is an integrated ecosystem allows you to have an integrated visibility. So what it means is, if everything is in one system, it is very easy for me to get data out and process that data. I don't have multiple touch points. So what that means is, when you're running your hybrid engagement in a disparate ecosystem where you have multiple tool touch points, then for you to do an effective governance, a governance for within your teams, a governance based on what you have committed to the customer, is going to take a lot of time, and it is going to be challenging. Whereas on the other side, if you have an integrated hybrid ecosystem, then for you to do a governance, it is much easier. It is as easy as going to a set of dashboard pages, because the entire data set is now available in one integrated ecosystem. So this is what I would like to add to the question that has been added. Hybrid engagements will allow you to do very effective governance, both at a team level, at a project level, and with the customers, because the entire planning and execution is all well aligned, and it is all available in one integrated ecosystem.
Great.
Okay. So yes. Can Nimble allow me to link multiple sprints to the dev stage of the project? If additional sprints, so there's a follow-up question also. If additional sprints get added, how does it update the project plan?
So you will have to do the linkage, and Nimble will allow you to do that linkage. Let me just come back. You're able to see my screen, right, Mahesh?
No, it just stopped. I can see you on the screen.
Let me just. What about now? You're able to see my screen?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. So it is all based on the hybrid nature of tasks that we have, where you will be able to link a deliverable to multiple epics or multiple sprints, as you basically see over here. Just let me just come back to that specific task. If I let me just come to this task. So you just have to add the link icon over here, and you will be able to link it to multiple user stories and epics. So to answer your question, yes, Nimble allows you to link a task or a deliverable in your plan to multiple sprints or multiple epics or multiple themes, and then you will be able to get the data back flowing and getting updated back to the project plan.
Yeah, I think the intent of the question is also that if you decide that new sprints needed to be added because some additional change requests came in, now the scope has expanded a little bit, or additional work needs to get done, you can add sprints at any time, right?
At any time, yes, yes.
And so therefore your dev phase might get extended, but you can certainly add new sprints to the project at any time, and that will of course update the project plan accordingly.
Okay. So we have one last question, as we have exceeded the assigned time. So as cards move on the board, does it automatically update task progress on the plan?
It does update the task progress on the plan. There are some settings and way in which, see, there are multiple ways in which percentage completion gets computed at the card level. So it can be based on effort, it can be based on to-dos. There are multiple ways. So whatever you choose, once the percentage completion of a card has been calculated, computed, it goes back to the plan and updates it accordingly. And it suppose if there is a task which is linked to multiple cards, then it will aggregate and compute the percentage completion accordingly and update the percentage completion of the task.
Right.
Yes.
So let me just then share my screen here, Mano. Uh, we have come to the end of the session, but I'd like to, uh, share my screen and show our um, our contact information so that you can connect with us. You can, you know, ask any follow-up questions. We'd love to hear from all of you who have joined the webinar today as to what are some of the specific challenges that you've seen in your hybrid environments. And if you have any feedback for us, or if you'd like to see anything in terms of capabilities of our products to help you handle hybrid agile projects, we'd love to hear from you. But more than anything else, we'd love to have you, connect with us and have sort of continuous interaction in terms of how we can, expand our own capabilities, our own ability to help hybrid agile and any kind of project teams. So love to have you stay connected with us in terms of getting updates from our side, as well as of course hearing from you in terms of any feedback that you have on the webinar and on additional topics that you'd like us to see cover. So feel free to connect with Mano or me. Our email is there. Or follow us on the social media as you see, and of course take a look at our website to uh, learn more about the company. And of course, if you would like to see a demo, a sort of complete demo of our various capabilities in hybrid agile and other stuff that you saw, we'd of course love to set up a custom session for you and give you a detailed introduction to the product capabilities. So with that, again, I'd like to thank all of you who joined the webinar today. Mano, thanks again for a great
Thank you.
session. And yeah, we'll meet on the next one next month on the Agile side. Take care,
Thank you.
everybody.
Take care.